Hello, welcome to Friday. Welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is January 28th, 2022. From east of Woodward, I'm Jer Stays.
And from west of Woodward, I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Good to talk with you, sir.
Great to be here, Jer. It's Friday, TGIF. Hope you're enjoying yourself. We don't have cocktails today because it's a little early as we're recording this, so we've gone to our favorite coffee shops, haven't we?
And I want to give people a pro tip that there's kind of two classes of coffee shop in Detroit. One is kind of your morning, like, go get 'em, like Ace type in and out kind of thing. And then your second is you're kind of sipping and like reading or doing work or whatever, kind of two different gears. And so before 9 a.m., and this is when we're doing this, there's more of a limited selection. So my pick is my trusty Milwaukee cafe window, which has a beautiful espresso machine, beautiful cold brew. And you can just drive right up, go in, get your coffee, get out, and the place is just beautiful. That's the one that's right connected to Kiesling.
It is like something, I would say this is the highest compliment, like something out of like a Wes Anderson movie. It's always so nice. People are having conversations. People seem to know each other. The baristas there know each other or know the people. It's just fantastic. So yeah, shout out to Milwaukee Cafe. They certainly deserve it. I actually also went to a coffee window myself over in Dearborn at Black Box Coffee. I know we've mentioned that before. It's a really cool place that's opened. They've actually opened their coffee window, which is really cool. And they're open from 7 a.m. So you can get a coffee pretty darn early. I know some places now are only 9. They're open till 6. They've got the coffee walk-up window. You can go inside and order as well. They've been keeping that space kind of like no seating during COVID, just, obviously to keep things spaced out. But what they have done is they've turned their indoors space into a indoor art gallery, which is really cool. So they actually have something going on now. It's the Trappings of the Ephemeral. So it's a solo exhibition by a particular artist, and it's running right now. You can go check out some art, grab a coffee. Myself, Jer, on a day like this, I need the extra pick-me-up. I get a red eye. So I need the extra shot of espresso in there.
So the neat thing about Milwaukee, although it's a smaller space, I've been over to Black Box. I recommend people check it out. It's in a really cool old building. But at Milwaukee, if you're a plant person, this is the place for you. And sometimes they even do like swaps. I don't understand how all that works, but I've seen it go through. They do like the sprig swaps or whatever. I'm sure some plant person is listening to this yelling at me right now, dailydetroit@gmail.com. But I just love the community aspect of these kind of places. So speaking of communities, there has been a lot of talk on the show, a lot of talk in the news about Michigan's birth rate going below the death rate, like that more deaths than births. I know that you had some thoughts, and we don't want to belabor it, but I think you want to take things in a little bit different direction than we have before. So why don't we get into it?
Sure, Jer. I mean, first of all, great interview with Kurt Metzger. He's just a fountain of information and did a really good job talking about this huge, huge issue. And it's something that, to me, I kind of parse apart and take in two separate lanes, or two separate buckets here. One is a lever that's so big and so huge and so heavy that it's just not moving, and that's just the general birth rate. I mean, since the 1950s, since the baby boom, we've been declining, both in Michigan, both in America, and you could even argue throughout the world. So I don't think we're going to do anything about the birth rate. People aren't going to automatically or all of a sudden start having more babies, especially with the changing trends of millennials and people having kids later and less kids. It just ain't going to happen. That lever is not going to happen. The birth rate will continue to decline, and there's nothing we can do about it. So I don't want to waste a lot of time thinking about things we can do to change that. What we can do, though, Jer, is focus on the major issues with people, young people and older people, leaving the state without us backfilling with any new attraction of people. And I think that's where we can start to look for solutions, because there are real solutions there.
In fact, a recent United Van Lines National Movers study said that Michigan was one of the top 10 states that people were moving out of, ranking at number 6. I haven't seen this stat move in my adult lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to be that high on a list like that, but especially on a day like this, and I know we differ a little bit on this, I tend to think that climate is a huge issue. I mean, you look outside and you say, God, this isn't a fun climate to be in. I could live in Arizona or Florida or, even Georgia and Atlanta area. So I don't know. I think climate is a factor. I know you think a little bit less.
I know a lot of people who love the winter, and we have so many beautiful assets in Michigan. And if you're into this sort of thing, the other side of it is too, is that I know there's a lot of people who like seasons. Now, I know that if you're somebody who's just, you're set that it needs to be 80 degrees every day or 70 degrees, you're only going to do so much. But if you're somebody who's into seasons and into winter and such like that, those are the places that we need to compete with. And you know what? Not every state is a warm weather state that's bringing people.
You're absolutely right, Jerry. And so that gets to kind of a specific point that I think we do agree on is benchmarking kind of the cities that are closest to us, maybe even just in geography, but in climate and makeup. I don't think we're going to get a lot of places benchmarking ourselves against a Phoenix or an Atlanta or an Austin, Texas. It's just we're so different. But what we can look at is there are Midwestern and Northeast cities who have done a really good job of attraction. And you look at places like Columbus, Minneapolis, Madison, Wisconsin, Pittsburgh. They're doing a really good job of attracting young people, young families, young talent. And those are the cities that I think we need to be benchmarking and saying, what are you doing? Because it's just as cold there as it is here, but you're doing something different that's attracting these young people, these new young families and people who are in search of good jobs, technology talent, things like that.
Setting aside all of your other hats, and this is your personal opinion. What are 2 or 3 things, 2 or 3 levers, projects, initiatives, focus areas that you would pull on to keep people? Because we're talking about our fellow people and younger than us. This is our group. What are 2 or 3 things that you personally would do?
Yeah, Jerry. If I had control of these levers, I think that one, and it's something that I think is top of mind to people now, is these innovation hubs, and specifically the Michigan Central project. And there's a really good piece from Chad Lavengood in Cranes that you can see this weekend, where he basically kind of talks about how all these incentives for these big plants and middle wage jobs are great in a sense, like good, okay, clap our hands, but maybe the more impactful projects are things like Michigan Central, because you are literally bringing the best and brightest. You're attracting the best technology companies, the brightest minds to stay here, to be a part of something, to help build something, and really creating a, Silicon Valley mini in this Michigan Central campus. And that's the most exciting project. Michigan Central is the most exciting project we have seen in a decade, at least in Southeast Michigan, in my estimation. And I think doubling down on that and making sure that, the Googles, the, whoever it may be, the brightest, the Microsofts, whatever it may be, have a presence there, are doing cool things there. And so I think that is going to become a real kind of a hub for innovation and bright minds, which we need.
I would like to remind people here that Silicon Valley in many ways is the Detroit of its time, because, Detroit back in the day, that's how the auto industry was. It was not this rigid thing. It was so many companies. And yes, we had a lot of consolidation, but over time, I've read so many stories about how people would literally drag engines into the old Pontchartrain Hotel bar to discuss the engine, right? And that's the interesting energy to me, not necessarily about cars, but about passion for the thing and bringing people together.
Yeah, it was the Wild West. And I'll give a quick plug. If anyone has access to the History Channel, I don't know how streaming services work, what you can get, but History Channel had a program a few years ago called The Cars That Built America. It's so good and gives you it's very Detroit centric, as you can imagine. It just gives such a really cool perspective on the Wild Westness of what Detroit was and just how crazy things were. I highly recommend that program, but I digress.
I know that it's very popular in some corners to just beat the manufacturing drum, and there is a part to that. But the reality is manufacturing does not look like it did in the old photos. And I think, we talked about different generations on the show with Kurt and their perceptions. And I think there's this perception that manufacturing is going to be all these jobs and things like that. I don't know if you've been in a modern factory lately, but there's a lot fewer people nowadays. I don't care what you're building, because so much of it is automated and automation, and things like Automation Alley. There's some great innovators in this area around machine automation, but that means a lot fewer jobs, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Not to get too much into the nuts and bolts of it, so to speak, but factories are getting more automated, not less automated. They're only getting more automated as we go into the future, and so we have to look at other things outside of just building factory jobs. Those are good for now. They kind of are a bridge to somewhere, but we don't know where that bridge goes because those people who are working in those factories are going to end up not having the right skill. So we have to work on upskilling, reskilling a workforce, and making sure that the people who are in school now are getting the proper skills for the jobs, not of right now, but of 10, 15, 20 years from now. And that also leads me into my final lever, Jared, that I'd like to pull here or continue to push, and that's around immigration. We need to embrace immigration, specifically in Southeast Michigan, but really Michigan as a whole, especially when we're talking about turning around this trend of population loss. Because who does like to come here? Do you know who does appreciate Southeast Michigan? Immigrants, Jared. People from other countries who see the opportunity here, who may see lower cost of living initially, who may be able to see opportunities, other people that look like them. So, Kurt Metzger did, point out, and you pointed out, you look at places who is doing well, who is gaining population. You got Grand Rapids over on the west side. They're doing, decent job with this. And then you look at cities like Dearborn and Hamtramck, and we see what they have in common, a high population of immigrants. And so it only makes sense if we're talking about changing those population trends to really lean into embracing immigration here and helping make a good landing spot for these immigrants to start a new life and create opportunity for them. So we need to double down on that.
All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk restaurants, places, things, all the stuff that we like to do often on Fridays. I know that a place near and dear to your heart is reopening.
Yes, Jared. Oh, long closed. I'd be remiss if I didn't say a quick anecdote here about our friends at Smith & Co., which is finally coming back. They've been closed since the very early days, March of 2020. I was at Smith & Co. It was the last restaurant or bar I was at before the world turned dark. We were watching the results of the Michigan primary come in, Michigan presidential primary come in, and then the leading news that night at 11 o'clock was the first 2 cases of COVID in Michigan. And we all said, uh-oh, I don't know what we're in for. Well, here we are. Here we are 2 years later. We've been through a lot. Smith & Co. has been dormant. They opted not to kind of open back up or try and do like kind of a spaced out or different kind of policies for carry out or whatever, but they're going to come back in full force. So I'm really happy to see them.
Also making headlines around town is the Sugar Factory American Brasserie, which I don't know, man. Like, I know that people are excited about it. I know that it's like very Instagram forward and very like what I like to call stunt food. And I'm not judging it because I've eaten it. Look, there is a video that I shot somewhere of 2 grown men eating a macaroni and cheese bun hamburger, right? So the burger is like a burger, and then you have macaroni and cheese formed into a bun. Anyway, stunt food is a thing, but this brasserie is going to take over, it looks like the old Hard Rock Detroit space, which has been vacant for a pretty long time.
Yeah, I mean, when Hard Rock closed, I think you and I both figured it wouldn't be closed long because you have that prime location right off Campus Martius. It's a pretty big space. Something will definitely go in there. This is a national chain. My brother lives in Los Angeles, and he's got one at the big mall across from him. Yeah, he takes his young kids there. It's fun. I mean, it seems like a really fun place. I mean, Instagrammable, up the yin yang. It's just like, it's crazy. The stuff they do, and go on their Instagram and check it out. But I will say, Jared, I'm don't want to be too basic here, but they have booze. So I mean, hey, it's the worst that could happen. You can go get a boozy candy drink or a boozy milkshake or whatever. So hey, that's, I mean, not bad. I'll check it out. Probably won't be a place that I go to very often, but I think it's the perfect location for it right there by Campus Martius, because that area is just tourist or local tourist central.
Another key to this one is that it's family friendly, and that's really the goal of this. And I think you're seeing an evolution of Campus Martius from was kind of like the bounce around bar kind of thing to like, I think they're really starting to wrap around more of like a family friendly experience down there on Woodward Avenue.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like basically, Campus Martius is becoming the type of place where you could come from the suburbs, come from Clarkston, and you could spend a day just in that Campus Martius area, having breakfast, go into the park, having lunch somewhere cool, go into this Sugar Factory. There's just a lot to do, shopping.
The drive-in movie theater.
Yeah, the drive-in movie theater. So yeah, it's really cool. You basically spend a whole day in the Campus Martius adjacent area and have yourself a great time with you and the family.
Also in the inbox, in the Chrysler House, and a Ratham Gourmet to go. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. A Ratham, I believe is how you say it. Anyway, there are multiple locations. This is kind of like a local chain. They've invested in a 500 square foot spot that looks to be the old Bon there in the Chrysler House. It's yet another plant-based option. I know that plant-based options are adding to different menus. I heard that Batch Brewery is doing more plant-based options. What do you think of this trend in general? We've also seen some places kind of not be open, like kind of close. I feel like it's interesting. Do you think that these kind of places can kind of stick on their own when you've got places starting to offer vegan? Do you think the market is big enough for that? What do you think?
Well, first of all, quality leads. And I think the places that close are the ones that don't do this right. And you really have to get it right. On the vegan market, it has to taste so similar or better in some cases. And I've actually dabbled a lot in the vegan menus and vegan offerings and vegan restaurants. My wife has some allergies, particularly to like eggs and gluten, and so she's kind of altered, and that means my diet also changes in some cases. So I found myself getting a lot of Impossible burgers, eating at a lot of vegan restaurants. Even Chipotle has like a vegan plant-based protein now. I love it. I actually like it better than the other stuff. So that's my Chipotle order, is their sofritas, their plant-based protein. So I think it actually can be really good, and it makes me feel less full. It's less, it's less heavy. I don't feel the same ways when I eat red meat. So I've actually found myself craving, Impossible Burger locally. Sivaz in Midtown has been a mainstay. They always do a good job. I'm just looking forward to more vegan places. Honestly, Jerry, if people give them a try, I promise you won't be disappointed. I promise.
So there's a place, west of Detroit. I think it's in Dearborn, Michigan Avenue. You were telling about it, and I've totally am blanking on the name. What is that place that you want me to try?
Yes, Jer. Unburger on Michigan Avenue in West Dearborn. Check out Unburger. They do a great job. I mean, I don't want this to turn a commercial for them. I mean, I'm happy to shout them out, but we're talking about vegan. Everything there is vegan, from the mac and cheese to they have desserts. So they have cheesecake and pie. It's all vegan. Their burgers are like customizable. I swear to you, the patties you wouldn't even know. To me, they're actually better than burger patties in most cases. So check out them. They're a great vegan example. You got to do it right, but when it's done right, it's as good or better than the normal food, whatever you want to say, the meat eaters, the carnivore diet.
Well, I will add that a good burger matters, and I think too many people don't make a good burger. As somebody who likes to make a good burger, I think too many people don't know how to do one.
Yeah, you ever noticed, Jared, any kind of like middle of the round restaurant or bar you go to, it's like, well, we have the best burger in town. Well, not everyone can have the best burger in town. 90% of those people are liars.
I do want to mention a demolition over on that west side of town. The Allen Park Cinema is closed. This is kind of a historic movie theater in downtown Allen Park. Apparently, it will be demolished for a new project. The city was not able to find any doable proposals for the space. Do you have any memories of this place? I think it's on Allen Road.
Yeah, it's a really cool old movie theater. I did go there a few times as a child. I saw Casper, the Friendly Ghost there, so maybe that dates me a little bit. Yes, when that was Christina Ricci, Bill Pullman, Casper and his friends. That was I remember vividly seeing that there. So yeah, it was a full, whatever you want to call it, full service movie theater for a while. Then it became a dollar show. Bummer to see it go. It's just a really cool. We've talked about this on podcasts previously, but it's quite a quaint little area there with some shops and cafes and restaurants. So sad to see it go, but as we always wish here, hopefully something new and interesting goes in its place.
Yeah, they say it's going to be a temporary park after demolition, according to this piece in Hometown Life. I think that's a nice ad for now, and it'll be interesting to see if they can add some more density to that little strip there, because there's a coffee shop and a few different restaurants. If they can add a little bit of density there, they could get something really going. All right, we are done for today. I want to make sure to thank the people behind the scenes: Cheyenne Nocerini, Randy Walker, Fletcher Sharp, Devon, of course, to you. Also, thanks to our members at patreon.com. And oh my gosh, this Buy Me a Coffee thing, buymeacoffee.com/dailydetroit. People have been saying they want to do a one-time thing. And sir, our coffees were covered and more this week. So I want to encourage people, if you want to do a one-time thing, it's really great.
Yeah, very, very appropriate for this episode, Jared. We both had our coffees. We're definitely goes to good use. Buy us a coffee, and we can keep producing this quality content for you.
And then there's that other thing we're doing, that newsletter, dailydetroit.substack.com. What do you think of that, Dev?
Newsletter is great because, sometimes I'm just clicking through emails. I see the newsletter come through. I'm like, boom, I'm going to take a few minutes. You can get through it quickly. It just arms you with all the information and cool tidbits that you need for your week. So I love it, Jer.
And I promise I will not overwhelm your inbox with like 6 a day. Because that's a thing, isn't it? Like you some places, they're sending you like 4 or 6 emails a day and you're like, what do I do with this?
It's back to our mantra of what to know and where to go.
Thank you so much for listening all week. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.